our patricians. If I had thrown that bomb, or had caused it to be thrown, or had known of it, I would not hesitate a moment to say so. It is true that a number of lives were lost, many were wounded, but hundreds of lives were thereby saved. But for that bomb, there would have been 100 widows and hundreds of orphans where now there are a few. These facts have been carefully suppressed, and we are accused and convicted of conspiracy by the real conspirators and their agents. This, Your Honor, is one reason why sentence should not be passed by a court of justice if that name has any significance at all. But, says the state, you have published articles on the manufacture of dynamite and bombs. Show me a daily paper in the city that has not published similar articles. I remember very distinctly a long article in the Chicago Tribune of February 23rd, 1885. The paper contained a description and drawings of different kinds of infernal machines and bombs. I remember this one especially because I bought the paper on a railroad train and had ample time to read it. But since that time, the Times has often published similar articles on the subject, and some of the dynamite articles found in the Arbiter were translated articles from the Times, written by Generals Molyneux and Fitzjohn Porter, in which the use of dynamite bombs against striking working men is advocated as the most effective weapon against them. May I learn why the editors of these papers have not been indicted and convicted for murder? Is it because they have advocated the use of this destructive agent only against the common rabble? I seek information. Why was Mr. Stone of the News not made a defendant in this case? In his possession was found a bomb. Besides that, Mr. Stone published an article in January which gave full information regarding the manufacture of bombs. Upon this information, any man could prepare a bomb ready for use at the expense of not more than 10 cents. The News probably has 10 times the circulation of the Arbiter. Is it not likely that the bomb used on May 4th was one made after the News pattern? As long as these men are not charged with murder and convicted, I insist, Your Honor, that such discrimination in favor of capital is incompatible with justice, and sentence should therefore not be passed. Grinnell's main argument against the defendants was they were foreigners. They were not citizens. I cannot speak for the others. I will only speak for myself. I have been a resident of this state fully as long as Grinnell and probably have been as good a citizen. At least I should not wish to be compared with him. Grinnell has incessantly appealed to the patriotism of the jury. To that I reply in the language of Johnson, the English literator, an appeal to patriotism is the last resort of a scoundrel. My efforts in behalf of the disinherited and disenfranchised millions, my agitation in this direction, the popularization of economic teachings, in short, the education of the wage workers, is declared a conspiracy against society. The word society is here wisely substituted for the state, as represented by the patricians of today. It has always been the opinion of the ruling classes that the people must be kept in ignorance, for they lose their servility, their modesty, and their obedience to the powers that be as their intelligence increases. What have we said in our speeches and publications? We've interpreted to the people their conditions and relations in society. We've explained to them the different social phenomenon and the social laws and circumstances under which they occur. We have, by way of scientific investigation, incontrovertibly proved and brought to their knowledge that the system of wages is the root of the present social iniquities, iniquities so monstrous that they cry to heaven. We have further said that the wage system, as a specific form of social development, would, by necessity of logic, have to give way to higher forms of civilization, that the wage system must furnish the foundation for a social system of cooperation, that is, socialism. That whether this or that theory, this or that scheme regarding future arrangements were accepted was not a matter of choice, but one of historical necessity. And that to us the tendency of progress seemed to be anarchism, that is, a free society without kings or classes, a society of sovereigns in which liberty and economic equality of all would furnish an unshakable equilibrium as a foundation for a natural order. It is not likely that the Honorable Bonfield and Grinnell can conceive of a social order not held intact by the policeman's club and pistol. nor of a free society without prisons, gallows, and state's attorneys. In such a society, they probably fail to find a place for themselves. And is this the reason why anarchism is such a pernicious and damnable doctrine? Grinnell has intimated to us that anarchism was on trial. The theory of anarchism belongs to the realm of speculative philosophy. There was not a syllable said about anarchism at the Haymarket meeting. At that meeting, the very popular theme of reducing the hours of toil was discussed. But anarchism is on trial, foams Mr. Grinnell. And if that is the case, Your Honor, very well, you may sentence me, for I am an anarchist. I believe with Buckle, with Paine, Jefferson, Emerson, and Spencer, and many other great thinkers of this century, that the state of castes and classes, the state where one class dominates over and lives upon the labor of another class, and calls this order. Yes, I believe that this barbaric form of social organization, with its legalized plunder and murder, is doomed to die and make room for a free society, voluntary association, or universal brotherhood, if you like. If you may pronounce the sentence upon me, honorable judge. But let the world know that in AD 1886, in the state of Illinois, 8 men were sentenced to death because they believed in a better future, because they had not lost their faith in the ultimate victory of liberty and justice. Now, if we cannot be directly implicated with this affair, connected with the